Good evening. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez looking at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as it's 6 o'clock Eastern time on this Tuesday, November 18th. A lot of news in just one day. That's why they call it that 24/7 news cycle. We're going to go over a number of the stories that have happened even this morning when we woke up. The whole thing where X and Truth Social were down. We'll talk about why that was in just a minute. Before we get to that and some more headlines, of course, at 6:40 tonight, the President and the First Lady greet the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That will happen on the south lawn of the White House. Then, 5 minutes later, the President and the First Lady will participate in a receiving line in the Blue Room of the White House. And then the third element that we'll have live for you here at 7:15 Eastern, the President and the First Lady participate in a dinner with the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That will be in the East Room of the White House. We're also tracking some reports that international superstar soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo will be attending tonight's event at the White House. Those are via reports, not independently confirmed, but we're seeing some reports out there. We know that Cristiano Ronaldo plays in the Saudi Pro League, so it may make sense that that connection is there. So if we see the superstar there, then, that'll be more to our coverage tonight as we continue to cover the things going on in our world, especially right here in the United States of America. Meantime, speaking of that, the U.S. House of Representatives and moments ago, the U.S. Senate has voted to release the Epstein files. So both the House and the Senate are voting to release them. The House Resolution 4405, known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act, is now on the way to the president's desk for a signature. Once that is signed by the commander-in-chief, the Department of Justice will release the files after the president signs it. Will that be something that happens tonight? We'll see, because the House voted, and it quickly went to the Senate. They quickly voted. And so maybe after, or who knows, before this event, we'll just follow what's going on there in Washington, and we'll keep an eye on that for any developments. In other news, millions of us, including myself, millions of Americans woke up to a massive Cloudflare internet outage this morning, affecting X and Truth Social and many other sites for a few hours. The U.S.-based company actually says 20% of all websites are protected by Cloudflare. So we're talking 20% of the world's websites are protected by Cloudflare. The company says Cloudflare blocks some 234 billion cyber threats each day. That, according to their website, Cloudflare, 234 billion cyber threats each day. And when there's a partial collapse of the internet in the sense of these websites, like the one we saw today, the kind of incident there controls where you can get information. I was looking on Truth Social, I was looking on X, well, they were down. Rumble and YouTube were not affected earlier today, so it was great to be able to have access that way, but we'll see what happens there. What situation was that? Was that a cyber attack? Was that just some, faulty situation that happened? A mistake of sorts? Who knows? But it definitely kind of preps us for, in case any of that kind of censorship ever happens, we got to figure out ways to work around that. But always to remember, we're doing this for God, family, country, and freedom. So we'll see each other in a few minutes. You know what I mean? If it's down for an hour, we'll be right back up, hopefully. All right, let's go to the great state of Alaska right now. Joining us is the conservative candidate for governor of Alaska, Bernadette Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us. Did that affect you in Alaska as well, the X and Truth Social and everything down? Tell us how long it was there for you guys.
It did. You know what? I was getting alerts this morning from my team saying, Bernadette, our posts aren't getting up. Nothing is out. It's completely frozen. It didn't feel like it was that long, but I definitely got alerts from it's what I woke up to this morning. Of course, we're 4 hours behind the East Coast. And so we're waking up to news that it had spread. So
Exactly. And well, thankfully it's all back up and running now, but that was definitely interesting, especially from, a political standpoint, a journalist standpoint. I saw some hosts out there kind of like, what do I do? Well, where's X? Like leaning on it, which is fine. But That's why we have, a lot of different sites out there, Rumble, YouTube, that they were both working. RSBN, we were live, so it was great to see that. Let's talk about what you're doing. You're throwing your hat in the ring to be the governor of Alaska, which would be the election, which would be next year. I understand that you have family as well back in the day that were also involved in the governorship there. So can you talk to us about your pitch to Alaskans and also that history?
Yeah, so my great uncle, Governor Wally Hickel, served as governor twice in Alaska. And then he went on to serve as Secretary of the Interior under President Nixon. And so I grew up pretty involved in politics, but I grew up on the entrepreneur side. So I come from a family of business owners. I tell people I know dirt and I know garbage. I've had my garbage business for 10 years now. And so I tell everyone, I figure with a dirt and garbage background makes me more than qualified for politics, right? But I come at it from the business side, from the small sector side. And, you look at Alaska and you look at the strategic location that we have and that role that we play for the rest of the country when it comes to national defense. When you look at the resources that Alaska has the ability to power the entire rest of the country. Alaska has sat on the sidelines while we have watched previous administrations import every mineral and, precious metal from China, while environmentalists and far left extremists have shut Alaska down. We have projects here that we've talked about for decades that haven't gotten taken care of. We have an 11-mile road up at King Cove, where, not kidding you, without that road, it is a life and death situation. The environmentalists won't let us put the road in, haven't let us put the road in yet. But there are people out there that cannot get the medical care that they need in the unfortunate event of an emergency because there's no road out of there. We have Ambler Road, 1,700 mining claims along Ambler Road. The president approved Ambler in his 45th administration. The minute that the Biden administration got in, they locked Ambler down. The Biden administration, by the way, put more sanctions against the state of Alaska than they did the country of Iran. If you can just think about how crazy that is. And so now here we are with a president who most certainly understands the strategic location of Alaska. I think he values the resources that Alaska has to offer. The president has brought up Alaska numerous times, right? His State of the Union speech, he brought it up election night. He, was here just a few months ago with Putin as they collaborated with each other on things. And so we have the ability to power this. And I have watched elected officials in Alaska look at everything that the DC bureaucrats hand down to us as though it's biblical. That wasn't how we built this state. My uncle Wally quite notoriously built a road. The federal government said, you don't have the permit to do it. He said, I'm going to go build it anyways. They threatened to sue. He built it. They never did sue. We've got to get back to that. And I think the president recognizes that absolutely. President Trump has done more for Alaska than any other president in history. And so you look at the incoming gubernatorial administration for Alaska, we will have just 2 years of a guaranteed Republican president. And I'm looking forward to moving the state forward and launching on a lot of these things that the president has talked about.
Let's talk about the people of your great state there, because obviously far up to the northwest of us, but the thing is, you're part of us. And sometimes, people are like, they want to be connected. So tell us what it's like there in Alaska when it comes to patriotism and just loving God, family, country, and freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, you talk about being up in the far north. Here in Uktiavik, Alaska, the sun is getting ready to set in just a couple hours, and it will not rise again until January 22nd. So they are saying goodbye to their final sunset of the year. But Alaska is incredibly, we are a gun-toting, freedom-loving country. We used to joke that even if you were a Democrat and you ran for office in Alaska, and still I say joked, it's not really a joke, but there's no way that they can run against gun rights. We are very pro-Second Amendment here. Alaskans are the salt of the earth. They're the hardy. They survive the harshest of climates. They're used to forging their own way. There's a lot of independent spirit here, which interestingly enough relates to our voters as well. We have a lot of independent voters that are incredibly conservative. The president won Alaska by a landslide. Yet our registered Republicans in this state are only at about 30%. Democrats come in lower than that. So we have roughly 60% of our electorate that is staunch conservative, very much prides themselves on their independent, undeclared streak, though we have very strong conservative values. And so that runs through that pioneering spirit very much runs through Alaska. And, like I say, we look at Alaska and we look at the rest of how we refer to everybody as the lower 48. And we look across the country and say, hey, wait a minute. We have all the energy and resources that everybody else needs to help carry you through. So
it's awesome. It's awesome to see that. My wife and I do want to take a trip to Alaska and an Alaskan cruise, the whole nine, and just check it out, and we hope to do that soon. But back to the interview here, what's your general assessment of how the United States of America is doing right now? So that you could take that in any direction that you'd like.
Yeah, I think that overall it seems like we're absolutely going the right direction. It is refreshing to have a president get into office, do what he said he was going to do, and do it as quickly as he has. Now, I have been a fan of President Trump since the very beginning, just full disclosure. But had you told me that in this second administration, he would be able to get done as much as he has done, I think I would have told you that you were crazy. But it's been phenomenal to sit back and you look at everything that he's done with border security. You look at everything that he's done to boost our economy. You're seeing people excited about it. I think you can feel the excitement. I know you can most certainly feel the excitement here on the ground. There's this sense of hope and optimism, and having him go out and just saying, you know what, I'm going to call it right like it is. Maybe a little rough around the edges, but you know what? It's working for us. And I think you can feel that energy. There was a little bit of hesitation, I think, when it came to the tariffs. We're seeing the revenue from the tariffs coming in. People are realizing we have got to be independent. True security is us being independent from any other country. And so I think that it's very exciting. I mean, obviously, we've had what happened in New York City was a little bit disappointing with Mandami. But for those red states, I think it's going to boom that much more,
Yeah, totally. And we're going to be talking to someone from Staten Island coming up in just a minute about Mamdani, about New York City, and that terrible election outcome. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the movement, the conservative movement, what we're seeing right now across the country. Yes, there are a lot of wins happening, but there's a lot of things that we want to see done as well. Things like, the voter reform for securing our elections. I'll get your take on that in a second. Also, holding people accountable, those in the deep state that have done lawfare against the president, against we the people. And we really want to, unite in that front of just let's go for this for freedom for our country. So your thoughts about that, securing our elections and holding people accountable that have done some seditious acts against our country.
Yeah, well, we absolutely need to we need to hold those people accountable. It's interesting because I get asked all the time, Bernadette, what do you think about term limits? And I used to be an incredibly staunch supporter. I wouldn't even hesitate. And I'd tell you, absolutely, I support term limits. What I've told people now is I support term limits, but we need to start applying those to the bureaucrats in office as well. Because when you take an elected individual and at least they've got to go back and they have to face those voters. I have watched as staff in DC, members of Congress have chiefs of staff that have been around 30 years, some of them 40 years, and they know and they prey upon the idea that this particular member of Congress maybe doesn't know the process or they're going to withhold information. So that deep state penetrates so far. We absolutely need to get in there and clean it out. And I honestly think that we need to look at how long have you worked for government? This idea of hiring someone because they've got 30 years of so-called experience is overrated. It has completely failed us. And I'm thrilled to see that the president is getting in there and he's starting to hold those people accountable. I think that we need to do it at all levels if we're going to save our country. And if it is truly about America. On the note about election integrity, of course, I mean, it was not that long ago that the Associated Press ran a headline that said the ability to vote in Alaska is not always guaranteed in our far-flung native villages. That was the headline that ran. And so election integrity is something that I think is incredibly important. As we look across the country, we can talk about taxes, we can talk about border security, we can talk about resource development, education, the whole myriad of issues that we could bring up. But at the very foundation of our republic is the ability to walk into that voting booth and know that we are going to have a fair, transparent, and timely election. Here in Alaska, you go to August last year, August 2024, we had two places in Alaska, Kaktovik and Wales, Alaska. Do you know that voters could not even go vote in person because they never even opened up the polling locations? It wasn't long after that, just a couple weeks, and a bag of election materials was found on the side of the road with a ballot inside of it. I can go back to the general election in Alaska, November 2022. 259 ballots from 6 different native villages were never even counted. And as you look at this, you know, kind of an underpinning of all of this is the fact that we cannot deny our voter rolls are inflated. In Alaska, we're at 108%. That's how much our voter rolls are inflated. And we've been told by the deep state that one government agency, such as Division of Elections, cannot go to another government agency, such as Vital Records, and scrub voter rolls, or we can't collaborate with the United States Postal Service to say who has moved and who's still taking a ballot when they shouldn't be. So states need to start collaborating with each other. We need to start forcing government entities, whether it's the U.S. Postal Service, Vital Statistics, and all of these, to start collaborating with every state, not just selectively. Because when you have voter rolls that are inflated at 108%, something is wrong. We need to look at that. That's a whole issue in and of itself. That's not even touching the fact that you're telling some people they literally cannot go vote in person. And I don't know if you've seen the news, but Alaska, of course, has made headline news this past week about in the municipality of Anchorage, where I'm at, so half the state's population, there is now controversy that people are going to be able to vote by their cell phones because they've opened up this whole online voting system. And so I think that out of all the things that we fight for, and I've said this out on the campaign trail, out of all the things that we fight for, voter integrity, election integrity is at the very core of it, because after that, if they can cheat an election, it doesn't matter if you have the best argument on education. It doesn't matter if you have the best fiscal policy when it comes to taxes or the economy. If we're not going to have a fair and transparent election, all of it is for naught.
Exactly. We need that free and fair election, honest election for the United States of America, of course, for the midterms. And if you're just joining us right now, this is conservative candidate for governor of Alaska, Bernadette Wilson. A couple more questions before I let you go. Thanks for spending time with us. Far, far away from Alabama. I wonder how long the drive is from Alabama to Alaska, by the way. Anyway, so let's talk about a couple news stories that are happening right now. First, we could talk about the Epstein files. We know that the House and the Senate just passed to have the Epstein files be released. Now it goes to the president's desk. The DOJ then would release them after that's signed. I want to get your take on that first. And then second, shifting gears to your thoughts on how the president, when the United States military strikes the narco terrorist out on the open sea, do you guys have any kind of situation with fentanyl all the way up there in Alaska?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the Epstein files, I think put them out. I honestly look at everybody that is saying that they don't need to come out. There's nothing to see here. And the very fact that you're not putting them out raises an eyebrow. So if there's nothing to see here, then just get the stupid thing over with and put it out. Let's get justice for those victims. And then let's be able to move on and not have the distraction from all of the issues that we need to be addressing, whether it's the border crisis, the economy. I mean, there's so many great things that this administration has done. And we hear about Epstein files, like just put them out already. And if you're the Republicans, just get the stupid thing over. If it's the Democrats that are involved, then let it go. I mean, we've been talking about this for how many years? Just put the stupid thing out. Let's get justice for the victims. Let's move on so that we can talk about the issues that are affecting everyday Americans. You know, you look across the country and the vast majority of them are most certainly being affected way more by the fentanyl crisis than they are by the Epstein files. But what it comes down to is transparency. The government should not be hiding that information. I was thrilled to see that the House did that with a nearly unanimous vote, all but one, I believe. We'll see how it goes in the Senate, but I'm hopeful that the Senate does that. And, you know, you brought up the fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl is a huge issue in Alaska. I mean, it's surprising to people that drug crisis takes over here so badly. We see it out on our streets constantly. It's out of control. We watched, of course, Alaska was one of the first states to legalize marijuana. And now what we're seeing is even the marijuana getting laced with fentanyl. And it has led to this huge problem that the left is calling a homeless problem. It's running rampant all over our streets. The reality is it's not a homeless problem. And I would argue it's not a homeless problem in any one of these cities that claim that they have homeless problems. San Francisco, we can talk about Portland, we can talk about Seattle. It is a drug and psychiatric problem. That's what it is. They keep calling it homeless. No, it's not. You have a drug problem, an alcohol problem, and a psychiatric problem. And there's no disputing, I believe, that the fentanyl is driving that. And you know what? If you want to try to be bringing drugs across into the U.S. via our waters, bring it on over in ships. I'm thrilled to see that the president is going after them. I think we need to shut it down on every front, land, air, and sea. Stop it and lock it down.
And then also, what about when it comes to Canada? Because the president and the team there early in the administration said it's not just the Mexican drug cartel terrorist organization in Mexico, it's also in Canada. So is that something you've seen as well, right there bordering Canada?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, being right up across the border with Canada, it's huge. And for us, so many of our goods, you know, the only way that you're getting from Alaska to the rest of the country is if you go through Canada, if you're coming on land, of course. And so what Canada is doing and what they're transporting has a huge effect on Alaska. And we see that every day. So absolutely.
And finally, I keep saying that, but we have one more minute. Why are you running for governor? What is it? From the heart of the matter, why are you doing that?
You know, I'll be honest with you, as I was running my businesses and simultaneously, you know, I had busted my butt to help get several Republicans elected over the years. And I was having a conversation with my 18-year-old son, and he said, Mom, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to go to work. But by the way, I was looking at better economies in other states. And here Alaska is at the bottom in education, 48th, 49th, 51st, depending on areas you look at. We start talking about projects that haven't been built in decades in this state. And it, you know, and I thought of my deep family roots. I mentioned my uncle, my great uncle earlier. My grandmother was born in the village of Naknek. And I was heartbroken because I thought, here, my kids can't make it in this state. But I will be honest with you, I was also very angry. And I was angry because for the last 2 decades, I have busted my butt to help get Republicans elected who then get into those positions of power, and they get more concerned about keeping that job than doing that job. And when that heartbreak met that anger, I decided, you know what? It's time to get in here and get this job done. I think President Donald Trump has done a phenomenal job. Our Congressman Nick Begich has done a phenomenal job. People tell me my Uncle Wally did a phenomenal job. Those 3 men all came from outside government. They were all business owners. They knew what it was like to sign the front of a paycheck. And I think if we're going to get this country back on track, it's going to be up to the electorate. It's going to be up to us as Americans to say, we don't want the 30-page experienced resume. We don't want the bureaucrats anymore. We want the people that know how to run a business, that know what it's like to succeed and fail at the same time, and can really grab this bull by the horns and get aggressive. And so here I am.
It's awesome. And you brought up a key word, people. We the people. You know, people that are just from that vantage point, right? We want the real deal. We love outsiders. We see a number of them in Washington, not too many, but hopefully maybe someday, maybe you'll be there after winning maybe the governorship there in Alaska.
Yeah.
Conservative candidate for governor of Alaska, Bernadette Wilson, thank you so much. And you said that tonight's the last sunset that everybody's going to experience. For those that just joined us, can you rehash what you said?
Yes, in Uktiavik, Alaska. So in Uktiavik, the sun is getting ready to set here in just a couple hours. It will not rise again until January 22nd.
Wow. So
last sunrise and the last sunset of the year.
Well, I'll tell you, I have some family that know some people in Alaska, and some of the people that were from Alaska were down here in the lower 48. Some of the greatest personalities that I've ever run into. Like even the small talk I was rolling. I mean, anyway, it was fun. That's my only Alaskan experience. Hopefully I'll have some more in the future. But Bernadette, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
right. We'll get you on up here.
That sounds good. Tell your friends, your family, those that support you that we say hello.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So Bernadette Wilson, again, one of the candidates for governor of Alaska. That's going to be obviously next year when it comes to that gubernatorial race, as it's 6:25 East Coast time. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors before we move on with some more interviews and some more news of the day. Of course, there's a lot going on. As you guys know, we're covering most of it. When I say most of it, it's the truth, because we can't cover every single story that's out there. But the big ones, definitely, we're talking about those and going over them. And of course, we'll see the president tonight with some of the foreign leaders there. In the meantime, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. Of course, we're heading into the holiday season. I guess it's 9 days away until Thanksgiving. Of course, a time for family, travel, being together, but also the getting sick part. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does, obviously it can really slow things down. And that's why All Family Pharmacy is helping Americans stay ready this season with fast, affordable access to more than 300 trusted medications, including antibiotics, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and antivirals like Tamiflu. Having the right medications on hand means you can act fast when someone starts feeling sick. No scrambling for last-minute doctor visits or waiting in crowded pharmacies. Everything's done online. So you request what you need, then a licensed U.S. doctor reviews your order, and approved medication shipped straight to your door, usually within a few days. So it's a practical way to be ready before the holiday season, and it gives you peace of mind knowing your family is covered. Skip the stress, stay healthy, and enjoy the holidays. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And of course, as always, consult a licensed healthcare provider before using any medication. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's go over to mypillow.com/RSBN. And I'm thinking, well, Alaska, let's go down to Minnesota, two places that have quite the winter, but great products there in Minnesota as well when it comes to MyPillow, where everything's made that gets sent around the country. And you can purchase a number of things in time for Christmas. This is a good time to start doing that, right? Maybe. So just go to mypillow.com/RSBN and you get that early Black Friday special that you see right there, $29.98 for that 5-pack of the Children's Bible Story Pillow. So good stuff there, along with a number of other great products on mypillow.com/RSBN. And speaking of RSBN, if you'd like to donate to the network, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. We're approaching the bottom of the hour. Next up, we're talking New York City. Before we get to our live guest, I do want to go to New York quickly, as the rapper Nicki Minaj is in the news, and she was at the United Nations earlier today, thanking the president for his efforts on helping persecuted Christians in Nigeria. Take a listen.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief.
So also the West Virginia Representative Riley Moore and others really doing a great job just, tackling that terrible issue that's happening in Africa when it comes to the persecution of Christians there. Not only persecution, but you can persecute someone and then you could do what they're doing as well, and they're taking people's lives. There's different kinds of persecution. I mean, it's just it's an atrocity that's happening there. So it's great to see a number of people that are focusing on that. But we know that we have a lot to deal with here in our country. And let's talk about that. Nicki Minaj in New York City. Well, let's go with Robert Burkhead. He's the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club. Robert, thanks so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you, Matthew, for having me.
Definitely. So Staten Island, New York. I've seen some calls to secede from New York City. So real quick, it'd be 4 boroughs left, and then it would be Staten Island, New York. Is that just a few people saying that? What say you?
Well, there's a growing call for that to be discussed after this recent mayoral election. It's very scary what's happening in New York. We have Staten Island is one of the last bastions of hope, and our community really relies on our elected officials. Staten Island is a city it's an ideal size to think about for a city to be unto its own. It's got a population of 500,000 people size-wise. And we'd be on par with cities like Miami, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, Colorado Springs, Atlanta. We have a notably bigger population than Cleveland, Ohio, Orlando, and Anaheim. So we would be, if that were to happen, the second largest city in New York State, and we would definitely be a sweet pot of its own
Yeah.
in the city.
So is that, I mean, the sentiment from everybody in the Staten Island Young Republican Club there? I mean, is everybody saying, man, let's just secede, let's just get out of here? Because, well, let's ask you, what are the things that you are concerned about when it comes to Zohran Mamdani? I mean, only 1 million something people there are voted for him. That's how they won that election. It was what, 846,000 for Cuomo. There's a city of 8 million people, and 1 million people are going to determine this communist socialist way. It's awful. I don't know. I have plenty to say about it. As my family was born in Brooklyn, Manhattan, I used to live and work there. You're in Staten Island right now. So, yeah, what is it that people are saying on the streets of New York?
I mean, I think Staten Island, it's such a blue-collar borough. I mean, most of the city workers that provide public service, whether it's in policing, fire department, EMS, healthcare, everybody pretty much lives on Staten Island. It's one of the last affordable boroughs, I think, that are out there. And I think everybody is just overtaxed. It's unaffordable. I mean, they want to speak about affordability, and that's what Mamdani ran on, but they continue to push policies that are unaffordable. And it's frustrating because people feel that their voices, although they're heard on Staten Island, I mean, our elected officials in Staten Island, they're focused on the issues that really matter to people. They stay focused on the quality of life. Our elected officials are in the trenches with us. They're part of local communities. I see them at our local precinct meetings. I see them at community board meetings. They're responsive. They're present for all issues. And they're part of your community, which is what I think elected officials are supposed to be. And, I think when you see things like happen in Manhattan, it doesn't really represent all of the city. And I think there's just a growing frustration that, they don't represent everybody. And, I think they call Staten Island the forgotten borough, but because they get elected probably not with Staten Island's vote as a Democrat, but they don't listen to the needs of Staten Islanders. And I think there's just a growing frustration of our needs need to be heard. Our taxes need to be lowered. It is truly unaffordable. And the Staten Island Young Republican Club is growing. People do not want to leave. They want to stay. They want to fight. Our club has grown to a record high 65 members. We started out the year with 10 members. I think people just weren't engaged. And I think that this scared people to be engaged. And we want to train the next generation of leaders and get involved in the political process. We don't push beliefs, but we push being involved, getting out there, volunteering, and getting off the sidelines and really pushing what we know is to be Republican values, but honestly, just common sense values.
Yeah, and that's exactly people on the right side of history that, it's okay to have law and order, right? It's okay to have a closed border. It's okay to have freedom. And anybody that comes against those basic things, that's not being on the right side of history. So let's talk about that. I mean, right now you have freedom of speech. You live in America. You live in New York. But if is it too dramatic to say that Mamdani is a socialist communist? We see what happens in China. If you spoke like this, if you were in a city in China and you were on a program and you said, well, the president, Xi Jinping, we don't like having to be controlled, and you get in trouble there. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we're flirting with in New York. We're already seeing it in London, England. This is not a joke. Am I being too dramatic, or is this something that you really think about?
I think it's scary when you see some of the platforms and the company that was kept by the mayor-elect during his run. I do think that luckily we do have, as I mentioned earlier, I think, the greatest elected officials in the country. They really fight for us, and I think they're going to do everything in their power to not let that happen. And they have people like us that are going to continue to build and collaborate, and really get out there, and make sure that that doesn't happen. There's activists like the great Scott Lebedo, who's always out there fighting for freedom through his artwork. So many notable Staten Islanders that I don't see it happening. I even think you start to see a pivot where it seems like the mayor-elect has reached out to the president already, even though he said in his acceptance speech, he wasn't, he kind of took him on, and that he wasn't, going to work with him. I think he realizes that he needs him to continue, at least to try to fix the affordability crisis and continue to fund our police and our fire department, because a lot of that money is funded from the government. And so, yeah, it is definitely something that's scary. Thankfully, we have best president, certainly in my lifetime, sitting in that Oval Office, and I believe he is not going to let New York fall, and he will work to protect us, and that is our hope, and that's what I'm hearing.
What are your thoughts about September 10th in Utah when we lost the late, great Charlie Kirk?
That was devastating. I'm a father of 3 children. And I think what hit me hardest was that not only was a voice attempted to be silenced, but a father was taken away from his children. And it was scary, and it rejuvenated me. It rejuvenated me that I want to be on the side. I want to be off the sidelines. I want to be out in the field. I want to talk to the next generation after me, and get people involved. It's okay to talk. It's okay to have a different opinion. It's okay to have a big tent. The president, accepted RFK into his administration. Different take, different party. But that's okay. And so what happened was devastating. It was disgusting. It was appalling. And I think that we've seen an increase in members joining, an increase in people that have not wanted to get involved. And I think Charlie's legacy is going to be just that, of inspiring the next generation, which is exactly what he wanted to do. And I'm going to continue to do that for this club, and I'm going to continue to do that for my family, and really, read scripture a lot more.
Amen. And that you're leading me to my next question. So then September 21st, that Sunday in Glendale, Arizona, were you able to watch that memorial?
I was. I watched it. I watched the entire memorial, actually, on your network.
So, and thank you. And so what was your reaction to that in the moment, and now carrying that as well, that spiritual renewal through Jesus?
It was rejuvenating. It was sad. Obviously, it was moving. I think what Charlie was able to do in that moment, even being memorialized, we saw Elon Musk and the president share a moment of rekindling their kind of friendship. And, I think that was so detrimental to the country to see that, because at the end of the day, we, again, can have differences of opinions, but human life is precious. And to see scripture and to see music with scripture, I certainly started listening to some of the playlists that was played at that memorial. It was very inspiring. I think his wife, Erica Kirk, is truly an inspiration. I'm so glad she's going to continue to carry on that legacy for her children, her family, and our community. I think it's important. And, it really is important not to shut down in those moments and move forward. And I think that's what Charlie probably would have wanted her to do. And it's what we're going to do. And it's so important to me.
For God, for family, for country, for freedom. Robert Burkhead, thank you so much for joining us, the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club. Tell everybody we said hello and hope to have you on again.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you. It's we the people, right? It's all about what we want out there. And we wanted President Trump in November of 2024. We want to see wins throughout our country. We want those that have broken the law to be held accountable. We want transparency. It's basically summed up in this way: truth, justice, and the American way. Again, for God, family, country, and freedom. You know, I keep it very obviously basic because it is basic. It's common sense. And there's a lot of times there's so many different stories that we're talking about out there, not us really here, but other places that I've seen, and not really in conservative media either. But, you know, and people get hung up on all this other stuff out there. And I'm not talking about today's news with the files and Epstein files. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying in general. A lot of times people act like it's business as usual. This is not business as usual, and I'm not being dramatic about it. I really believe this is not business as usual in this country. We know what has happened to London. We know what has just happened to New York City and Seattle. We know that the guy needs to clean his lens before we see the president. You know what I mean? So we know what's going on out there, and we just want to stick to, no pun intended, our guns, in the sense of everything that we do is for our Father God, our family, our country, and our freedom. Let's go to a couple sponsors as we await the president there. And we also have another live interview at about 7 Eastern. Just depends on what we'll see here with the president at the White House. We'll record that interview at 7 and air that soon, if that's the case. But in the meantime, let's go to, I believe, monetary gold. Every major financial disaster begins with a few simple facts that most people ignore. In 2007, it was the overextended credit and reckless lending and misplaced faith that, quote unquote, everything will hold. Then it didn't. Banks failed, savings vanished, and retirements were cut in half. So the lesson was painful and unforgettable. Today, some of those same indicators are returning. The auto loan defaults, they're rising, commercial real estate strained, private credit has grown far beyond its limits, and they're not just theories, they're patterns, and patterns repeat when people refuse to act. So for more than a quarter of a century, 25 years, monetary gold has guided Americans through every economic storm with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. And one constant truth: real value endures when paper confidence fades. So you could study the evidence and act on reason, and give them a call if you'd like. The info kit, you'll get that if you call 888-617-7994 or go to rsbnforthegold.com today. That's all to learn how owning tangible gold and silver can anchor your savings before the next shock arrives. 642 Tuesday, November 18th, callshe.com/RSBN. 3 ways to get to Callshe. 1, the QR code that you see on your screen. 2 would be the app, the Callshe app. And then 3 would be typing in callshe.com/RSBN. It's all about the topics that are out there, whether it's weather, sports, politics, faith, really anything, music, all sorts of stuff. You can check it out if you'd like, callshe.com/RSBN. More than 1 million users on Callshe, and a great sponsor here at Right Side. Same thing with angelpace.com out of Spring, Texas, a longtime sponsor, as you know, if you've been watching the network. And then also, if you use the RSBN promo code, you get the discount off of the Miracle Cream and other products right there. Good time to purchase some of this stuff. Get ahead of the curve when it comes to Christmas shopping and any holidays out there, of course. As it's 6:43 Eastern Time, Tuesday, November 18th, let's go over what we're seeing now. So right about now, it's scheduled for the President and the First Lady to greet the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That will happen right there on the south lawn of the White House. About 5 minutes later, the President and First Lady will participate in a receiving line in the Blue Room of the White House. Then at 7:15, the President and the First Lady participate in a dinner with the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That will be in the East Room. So from the South Room to the Blue Room to the East Room, we've got you covered here on the network. We're also tracking some reports that international soccer superstar Cristiano Ronaldo will be attending tonight's event at the White House. Ronaldo plays in the Saudi Pro League, so I guess it makes sense if there's a drop by there by the international soccer superstar. Meantime, other news we're following, of course, the big story of the day, the U.S. House of Representatives, and within the past hour, the Senate voted to release the Epstein files. So the House Resolution 4405, known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act, is now on the way to the president's desk for a signature. I'm sure that would be something that we would see either live or recorded. Is that going to happen tonight? We haven't received word of that happening tonight, but it happened pretty quickly through the House and through the Senate, so maybe it will. We'll just have to keep on the live feeds here and see what happens. So after the president will sign that, the DOJ then will release the files, again, after the president signs it, and we'll see when that happens. We'll keep an eye on that story. In other news, if you're just joining us, as we started at about 6 o'clock Eastern time, billions of Americans, including yours truly, woke up to a massive Cloudflare internet outage this morning, affecting X and Truth Social and many other sites for a few hours. The US-based company says 20% of all websites are protected by Cloudflare. So the company says Cloudflare blocks, get this, some 234 billion cyber threats each day. We don't know what happened with this morning. Was it a cyber attack? Nobody's confirmed that, I don't believe, at this hour. But they definitely got things taken care of after that. Rumble and YouTube were not affected. Simply knowing that because at, I think it was 7:45 Central Time, I was trying to look on X or Truth Social, and both weren't loading. And then I checked out Rumble, it was up. YouTube was good. And then there was a bunch of other sites that just weren't. There were external errors all over the place. But it made me think about censorship in general. And the ability or the need to rely on the internet like we do, and to have different websites and different ways to protect from cyber attacks and all that, because those, I believe it's what called a DDoD or DDoS. I don't know all the lingo of it, but we need to be able to communicate, here in this country. And obviously the internet is the way we do that. A lot of times, even cable news is now still called cable news, but you're live streaming it, right? Or you're live streaming us. So anyway, we'll see how you could find your news if there's ever a situation where there's power, that maybe there's a power situation that goes out, or there's a cyber attack or something. Just know this. I know there's, it's not all of our audience is watching tonight, but to those that are watching this live or on replay, we always have to remember, no matter what, this is for God, family, country, and freedom. We'll get to the other side of things, and things will work out. As Romans 8:28 says, all things work out for the good to those that love God or are called according to his purpose. So we'll keep on keeping on, regardless of, a couple hour internet situation that happened. Again, 20% of the websites on Earth are covered or work with Cloudflare. It's a huge cyber security. Let's now go to President Trump right now outside the White House. All right, so that just happened at about 6:45 Eastern time, when the president and the first lady just greeted the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia there at the South Lawn of the White House. Next up, just a few minutes from now, the President and the First Lady will participate in a receiving line in the Blue Room of the White House. We'll have that live feed. And then on top of that, at 7:15, the President and the First Lady will participate in a dinner with the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That will be in the East Room of the White House. Let's take a quick commercial break. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We will be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're about 8 minutes from the top of the hour. Looking forward to seeing the president there. We have a live interview coming up in just a minute. In the meantime, for those that have just joined us, we do have a clip from the United Nations in New York City today. The rapper Nicki Minaj is thanking President Trump for something that's actually very, very serious, of course, out there in Africa when it comes to Nigeria, the persecution and the atrocities that the Christians in Nigeria are facing. Let's go to that clip, and then we'll go to a couple sponsors.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief.
All right, so 6:53 Eastern time. That was earlier today at the UN in New York. We're seeing the White House there. Obviously, a little bit of, I believe, some rain and some stormy weather there in Washington right now. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors before we get ready to go to the president there. Before we go to a sponsor, or we can go to it if you want. I'll talk about that in just a second. So we're heading into the holiday season, a time, of course, for family, travel, and being together. But also the getting sick part, hopefully it doesn't happen. Obviously, it can really slow things down. That's why All Family Pharmacy is helping Americans stay ready this season with fast, affordable access to more than 300 trusted medications, including antibiotics, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and antivirals like Tamiflu. So having the right medications on hand means you can act fast when someone starts feeling sick. No scrambling for last-minute doctor visits or waiting in crowded pharmacies. Everything's done online, and you simply request what you need, and then a licensed U.S. doctor reviews your order, and approved medications ship straight to your door, usually within just a few days. So it's a practical way to be ready before the holiday season. It gives you a peace of mind knowing your family is covered. You can skip the stress, stay healthy, and enjoy the holidays. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider, of course, before using any medication. Great sponsor there, allfamilypharmacy.com. Let's also go to our next sponsor, covepure.com/RSBN. If you like tap water, well, this might not be for you, but I know a lot of people that don't like it, and there's a lot of different filters out there, but this is a great one. Covepure.com/RSBN is the place to go about drinking pure, living pure, and then Cove Pure. So 99.9% of the chemicals that are in tap water obviously make the water taste like crap. It just doesn't taste good. There's the aftertaste. It's not good, right? So this thing here, you don't have an aftertaste. It tastes just like what water's supposed to taste like, clean, fresh, healthy for you, no chemicals, that kind of thing. This is the place to do it right there. And you could also use the temperature gauge there, so you can use cold or warm or hot, whatever you'd like to push on the button there. And then, of course, just refill it using the tap water. And then, of course, it goes through the filter and it comes out a lot better than what the tap water can provide. So just go to covepure.com/RSBN for a limited time, $200 off your order. So covepure.com/RSBN. And also, there's another great sponsor that we have here, Venice AI. So did you know that like ChatGPT can now reference all your past conversations? Most people don't feel comfortable knowing an AI platform has access to some of your thoughts and sensitive questions or business ideas, that kind of thing. So the solution is with Venice.ai. It lets you use AI without handing over your sensitive information. There's a number of features that you can see. First of all, the display is awesome. Just check it out, venice.ai/RSBN, or just download the app, Venice AI. It utilizes leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation to your web browser. There's no downloads, no installations of anything. So they don't spy on you or censor the AI. Messages are, and I love this word for when it comes to internet, encrypted. So you want privacy? Encrypted is the way to go. This is the way to go. Venice.ai/RSBN. I used it earlier. You just type in a question, boom, gives you the answer real quick. It's good stuff. Venice AI, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. 3 great sponsors looking live there at the White House. Let's go to a live interview in the meantime as we await the president there. I'm hearing just to hold 1 second on that, so I'll do that. But in the meantime, also, I know there's a lot of news stories going on out there. We know that the House and the Senate just passed the vote there to release all the Epstein files. So that now goes to the president's desk. So as soon as that's signed, the DOJ then will release all of the files. Also, other stories where people are talking about, what about deep state indictments? We want to see more people held accountable. We're monitoring those kind of stories, and there's just a lot going on. So let's bring in some of our great guests here. Joining us now is the VetCom CEO, a conservative author of the book, The Race to Save America, and military veteran Kate Monroe. Kate, thanks again for joining us. Right now, we don't have audio, so maybe we'll go back to programming, guys. If we
I'm
want.
here.
Oh, there you go. Got audio. Good stuff.
Sorry.
All good. All right. So your thoughts about just the 24/7 news cycle. There's just how do you look around and see what's going on? You know what I mean?
It is a lot to wade through every day. I find myself telling my mom sometimes when she's getting overwhelmed, because she'll call me and say, "Hey, Kate, what about this? What about that? What do you think about these?" I'm like, "Mom, I love you. What I want you to do is shut the TV off and take a break and go out for a walk." And she does. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, there's a whole world out there." So it's hard to know what to believe. As a person who's on the news 3 to 5 times per day, I even find myself sometimes wondering, what is the truth? Is it all the way left? Is it all the way right? Is it somewhere in the middle? I mean, it's a scary set of circumstances that we find ourselves in. So I would just caution people to really put on a lens of truth before you decide, and ask for some discernment before you wade through it all, because it's a lot and it's oppressive.
It's so true. And what's great is the common sense aspect. Isn't it awesome? Like you said, that's a great way to put it. Put on the truth lens, put on the common sense lens, pray, and go in there and you. Yeah. I mean, we're not idiots. We know when we see something, we're like, oh, that's not. There's something fishy about that. We also God built in something called intuition, so, and we know what common sense is. So let's dive into a couple things. Let's go 30,000 foot view. Your assessment right now on the heartbeat of America, the country. How are we doing out there?
The heartbeat of America, apart from what you see in the news, I think is actually okay. I'm actually married to, and it sounds crazy, a liberal Democrat, atheist, Turkish immigrant. So we could not have less in common. We have no Venn diagram whatsoever, other than we like to travel and we like to eat and we have a beautiful son. That's really it. That ends the entire discussion of what we have in common. But somehow we managed to get along, because I think at the end of the day, everybody's kitchen table looks the same. You got to put food on it. You got to go to work. You got to be able to pay your bills and just be able to live in life. People are looking at that. They're not looking at, did we go to space today? What rocket went up? Who hates who? People don't even have time to think about that. I think what you see is the fringe of people being a little crazy on both sides, and somewhere in the middle is the heart of America. And I do think it's sad that, you and I have talked before about how if you grew up in the 80s, ideologically, we didn't seem to be so far apart. And I think that's because there wasn't a 24-hour news cycle. There was no social media. There was no just nonsense and made-up news. So I sort of feel bad for people in this era and this time.
Yeah, I hear you on that. That's a great point. We already completed the information age. We can get information just like that. And now it's the AI robotics age. It's starting up. And whether people like it or not, that's really what's happening out there. But to your point, you're right. And you were saying at the top of the interview, yeah, sometimes we do have to just put down the phone for a second. Not saying we're looking for censorship, like you don't need to know what's going on, or not that. Because we already know that how many hours, let's be real, how many hours are we on the phone looking at Truth Social, X, are posting things, or working like we're working now? This is a lot of our time. So we do have to remember, take that time for God, for family, for freedom, and enjoy. Like today, we went out to a local park, beautiful sunny skies here in Alabama, and it's nice to have that little break. Even though I posted on Truth Social and on X, I saw the American flag, it was waving perfectly. I had to take a video of it and post it. It's hard to let go of it, but you can't forget that when we say God and family being first, and then if you're all political and always doing news, always over here, you're missing something. You can't be out of balance, right?
Well, I think things have gotten so far out of balance. People spend too much inside, too much alone time. The amount of time I see people crying about how lonely they are because, social media has made you have the sensation that you need to be liked all the time and that friends exist somewhere on the internet. That they're not real, they're bots. And I think when you put the phone down for a second, you go out and play with your kids and you go on vacation and you eat good food, sometimes you go, man, life's actually okay. Like, what was I doing over there? And I also think, I served in the Marine Corps. I ran for Congress. I have a company that changed the life of 21,000 people to the tune of $8 billion veterans. I went down and secured the border with razor wire. And sometimes I don't think I did enough. So if you're only scrolling on TikTok, watching me bitch about the things that you hate, that's not enough. You got to go vote, get outside, go do something, go buy your own razor wire. Like, don't go quietly into the night, America. Don't go quietly into the night. Be like this lady. Get out your shield and your sword and go to battle. Do something. You'll feel better.
Yeah, exactly. Figuratively speaking, of course. The armor of God, it's just like...
I will get out a shield and a sword. But I'm a Marine Corps veteran and I'm insane. I don't recommend it to everyone.
All good. I want to tackle something you brought up there. It's kind of diverting way away from what... just conservative media, and we're waiting for the president to see the president and the first lady here any second from now. But you brought up a good point. You said you saw people crying about being alone and that kind of thing. Let's tackle that one real quick, because I wish that more churches or places of worship, or just more for singles, because if you're at an event, and I think didn't the late great Charlie Kirk, didn't he always say, hey, like at the end, I think he did. Just get each other's numbers, like connect with somebody here.
Go plug in.
I think we need more of that to team up. So if you're single right now out there, you're a guy looking for a girl looking for a guy, whatever, man, I hope that some more places would just help bridge the gap more, because as many of you know out there, the dating field can be a battlefield. Thank God I'm married, you're married. It takes a minute to find the right person, but once you do, it's awesome. But what do you think about that? At churches, should they at the end of it be like, hey, and if you're single, just hang out, get a coffee for each other, talk to each other,
Well, I go to Awaken Church, and they have many rooftops. They have tons of churches, and they have connect groups. They have DNA. They have singles groups. They actually have their entire lobby is a coffee bar that they expect you to mill around in and actually get to know people. I've intentionally plugged into an environment that invites people to come together. That's really what it is to be a Christian. Like, the house of God is us as people. Like, just the building is just a building. It's just bricks and mortar, but we, the people, and you need to impart into other people. If people look lonely at church, like we have some people that sit in the row with us at church, and they look lonely, sometimes we take them to breakfast. Sometimes we get them a coffee. I just want to put my hand on them and give them a hug and tell them I'm praying for them and that they're in my thoughts and prayers throughout the week. It's just a very sad state of affairs. Like, people are just drowning. There's a study done, and I think it was something like 42% of people below 30 that were asked in a poll, if you could just go get in a pod and that was your last day and you could just go off quietly into the night, would you do it? 42% of these young people said, yes, I have nothing to live for. I'm drowning. I feel desperate. I feel alone, and I would rather just be dead. That is horrible. As a mom, I mean, I have 2 kids that would call me their mom. They're in their early 20s, and I have my son who's 8. And it would literally break my heart if they got so sad that they felt like pulling the ripcord was the right way. Like, for me, with my relationship with God, I feel full all the time. So, maybe that's the answer. Maybe people need more of that in their life.
I mean, I agree 100%. If you press into God, you beg him, ask him, I mean, I know it worked for me. I'll be honest.
Yeah, please do come. Yeah.
Yeah, you do that, you press into your relationship with God, and you believe that's going to work out. But then you also have to speak. It's okay to say, hey, how you doing? And do it in a nice, respectful way and all that. But yeah, it's definitely something that I think over COVID too, in 2020, I mean, everything was shut down. So it was just a really difficult time for a lot of people, or at least a decent amount of people, to just push through that whole situation. And yeah.
Isolation.
Yeah, isolation.
Yeah, the isolation was immense. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's
again,
absolutely horrible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it is. And so just to tie up that real quick, because I think there are people that are watching even right now live or on replay. And again, this is not mainstream media. We don't play TV here. Like, we like to be the real people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just to encourage anybody that is watching right now, if you are feeling that isolation, call your friend. If you don't have any friends around, call your family. If you got nobody around, call on God. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. So I just want to say that to you, because, hey, we all have our journey and we all have gone through ups and downs in life. But I really think the teaming up aspect of what Charlie Kirk said, get married, have kids, let's go, let's do this thing, right?
Build a life. I'm actually, so VetCom, my company, we have 240 employees, and we decided for our Christmas party this year, because we're going to have about 400 people there, we said, why don't we make it VetCom prom? Because I realized that all the young people that work at my company didn't get a prom. They went to school in a season where that just was completely annihilated from COVID, and they're like, we're having a prom. Like, they're all so excited to finally get to make that moment for themselves. But I would tell you, if you're a veteran watching right now and you need somebody to talk to and you're feeling very lonely and out in deep water, please do call VetCom, because we field about 200 suicide calls per month. We want to hear your story. We want to make sure you stay on this side of the dirt. 858-360-2227. Somebody on my team would love to talk to you. We do not want people going quietly into the night. We love you. And if you're watching us right now, you guys need to plug in. Please do plug in.
And we pray for you right now in Jesus' name. Those of you out there that are dealing with loneliness, I pray in Jesus' name that the Holy Spirit would comfort you right now. Right now, I pray in Jesus' name. Kate, can you also talk to us, and I'm not just saying that, I really mean that prayer there. Can you tell us about the Race to Save America, the book? Without giving it all away, because nobody would buy it then, right, if you just told us everything. But what are some of the morsels, the golden nuggets?
I basically looked at our country and said, what are the 13 biggest problems that we have, and are there actually solutions for them? So these 13 problems come down to, at the time when I wrote it, it was the Race to Save America. When Trump was running, I was running for Congress in that season. It was like, hey, we were sort of about to hit an event horizon. If we didn't pivot back pretty quick, we were about to lose our country, lose recruiting. So it was about how to fix recruiting, how to fix the border situation, how to fix immigration, fix child sex trafficking, voting, how to put basically a sub pump, into Congress, really, how to actually drain that swamp, and what would it actually look like? It would look like a convention of states. So it's basically a roadmap or a manual, if you will, to fix the country. That is what Race to Save America is. And ideologically, I think, many people who have read it on both sides go, if I read that and I didn't know who wrote it, even if they're on the left, they go, those are some pretty good ideas. So that would tell you where people are really at. If they didn't know your prejudice, they might agree with you more.
Yeah, exactly. And let's shift now and talk about the 2026 midterms. I know a lot of people saying, hey, it's a big midterms, but it is. I mean, it's if we don't have control of the House and the Senate, that's not good for we the people. So what's the solution? Is it simply just get out the vote and keep beating that drum?
Well, we beat the drum, but we don't actually, dance to the tune of that music. That's sort of the problem. If active duty and veterans and Christians voted, the nation would look totally different. Even here in Southern California, as many veterans as we have, as many Christians as we have, if you did more than watch me on TikTok or watch you and I right now, and you actually go, you know what, maybe I'm not going to take razor wire to the border. Maybe I'm not going to serve my country. Maybe I'm not going to build a company that's going to radically change people's lives, but maybe I could just go fill out a little couple dots on some paper. That would radically change where we end up. But I think if you believe that your vote doesn't count, guess what? It does not. And I'm here to tell you, listen to me clearly, your vote does count. You have my blessing. Please do fill out everything in the midterm. Don't be lazy on this. We always want to vote in the general because we're too busy out running companies and making money to pay all the people who want to, feed off the teat of the system that we don't even go vote for. So go vote.
Yeah,
you got to go do your work, America.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So to those that didn't vote in the 2024 election and you're of voting age, let's get out there, get registered. And then hopefully this voter reform that the president was talking about a couple weeks ago on Truth, the ID, the verification there, the same day ballots, paper ballots, that kind of thing. So yeah, we'll see. And proof of citizenship. I keep forgetting to say that one.
Oh, that would be crazy. That
would
be insane
especially in the Golden State where you're from, Kate.
Yeah, that would be wild. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Kate, thanks again for spending the time with us. It's always good to have you on the network.
Same. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So it was Kate Monroe, of course, the CEO of VetCom, a conservative author of the book, The Race to Save America. And I was just thinking about tonight and the live interviews we've had from New York City to Southern California, all the way up to Alaska, all within the past hour and 11 minutes. So if you're just joining us, you missed some things, but we're obviously awaiting the president there and the first lady. So what we're about to see when it comes to the public schedule. So every night, of course, the networks, including ours, gets the president's public schedule for the next day. So on that schedule, it was scheduled for 6:45. The president and first lady would participate in that receiving line in the Blue Room. So obviously that's shifting over a little bit. So it's 7:12. So that's what's up next. So that receiving line in the Blue Room with the president and the first lady. And then the third and final element of tonight's broadcast, and there might be a caveat, I'll share that in a second. The final note will be at around 7:15 or a little bit later, the president and the first lady will participate in that dinner with the crown prince and prime minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the East Room of the White House. The caveat could be, the House and the Senate passed let all the Epstein files out there. And so the president has to sign that now. And when he signs that, then the DOJ will release those files. Will the president do that tonight? That's the question. The Senate, I didn't think it would happen so quick with the Senate because it was in the House at about 2 Eastern time. And I was watching the coverage and we saw the votes come in. And we know that Clay Higgins out of Louisiana, the representative, voted no on that. But you have to look at context on his Truth Social and X as to why he voted that way. But then outside of that, it quickly went to the Senate. The Senate made their vote already. And again, it goes now to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So who knows? Maybe in this meeting tonight, this dinner, the president might say at the end, we're going to be seeing you guys in a few minutes over in the Oval Office. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we're glad you're with us as it's 7:13. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. I'm Matthew Alvarez here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interviewed the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. The camera getting a little, foggy there. I guess it's raining in D.C. right now. It was a bright and sunny skies down here in Alabama today. And obviously in the Northeast, a little bit different weather today as it's 7/16, Tuesday, November 18th. All right, so I was talking before about the president's public schedule and that we usually receive it at night. Well, we received it already this evening. So this is what's happening tomorrow in Washington. So Wednesday, November 19th, 2025, we're seeing at 11:35 in the morning, the president departs the White House en route the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum. At 12 o'clock Eastern, the president delivers remarks at the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum. So that's happening in Washington, D.C. at noon tomorrow. Of course, you can catch that coverage right here on Right Side. And then the president will arrive back to the White House at about 1:15 tomorrow afternoon. So that's all that's on the public schedule for the president. Maybe we'll see a Carolyn Levitt press conference this week or maybe next week, maybe early in the week, because of course Thanksgiving is on Thursday, and usually, a lot of business Monday, Tuesday, and then a lot of people, maybe shifting toward the holiday feel there when it comes to Wednesday coming up next week. So yeah, not too far away from Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and then of course, July 4th, 2026, our 250th birthday here in the United States of America. And then we are, 300 plus days away from the crucial November 3rd, 2026 midterm election. As I heard earlier today on a different network, that's what it's really all about right now. It's that 1 year from now, what will happen during those elections. So, 1, secure the elections, voter reform, hopefully get that kicked into high gear, get that taken care of. 2, get out the vote. 3, pray. 4, work hard. 5, speak about the candidate of your choice, right? Speak about it, whether it's online, with social media. Here at Conservative Media, of course, we'll be talking about the various candidates leading up to it, because it's just as important, in my opinion, and I haven't said this before, but as the prior election. The general election, I believe it is now, and we say that a lot, right? It's always the next election's the biggest of all time. But this time around, these are unprecedented times, as you guys know. This is not business as usual, as I said earlier in the broadcast. We know that this is a time that our country, the ship, the captain, the director of our country Right now, of course, is President Trump. We want to keep going to the right side of history. We don't want to go to the left. If we go to the left, if we go to socialism, communism, and all that crap, then what's going to happen is nothing against Niagara Falls. I've been there. I think it's amazing. But if you go to the right, man, you just park over there. You'll be protected. Keep it going. Keep the Constitution, the law of the land. But man, you go to the left, you don't want to go down that waterfall. And that's what would happen to our country. It's pretty simple stuff. It's called telling it like it is. And I think that those that are watching right now and those that are watching on replay, you guys, most of us are on the same side of history. We believe in the common sense policies and common sense, patriotism and all the things, right? We love 1776. We love the U.S. Constitution. We love God, And again, it's not business as usual, though. So let's just always remember that as we move forward during this next year, that though we may hear about this story or that's whatever, we might hear from Hakeem Jeffries, we might hear from Karen Bass, we might hear from Pritzker, we might hear from Brandon Johnson, and they're going to be spewing all their junk. And then we might hear from Mamdani and AOC and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and the list goes on, Ilhan Omar. But what they're saying is just stuff that is not common sense of what we, the people, fought and died for back in 1776. This is all for our United States of America, all for this beautiful land. So we got to keep that in mind when the noise is so, social media and this and that and these networks. We know what we know and we're not letting go of it. We know what we know. We're not going to let go of it. So, best of luck. We pray. I believe in luck as well. I think luck is a real thing. But anyway, best of luck, and let's pray and work hard and get the job done. And that's what we're looking to do here in this country to save the nation. The country's not saved yet. I don't think it's saved. Do you? Do you think the country's saved? Are we good? Are we not going to ever turn into London? Are we not going to ever turn into something worse? Are we good? Some say, well, God's got it under control. Again, I've said this before. I believe in that as well. However, I also believe that if we didn't show up to the polls on November 5th of 2024, would we have Harris as our president? So there's a balance, right? You can't just be like, oh, God's got it all under control, and then we don't show up to the polls, and then we lose the election. See what I'm saying? So I know most of you believe that. I'm just, to those that say, oh, it's just God's got it all. Trust me, I wish he did. I wish I could just sit back and be like, oh, he's got everything taken care of. And a lot of times we hear that, even at church in some cases. He's got it all covered. Well, I do believe that happens a lot. Trust me. Whenever there's intervention from God in our lives or in our country, trust me, I think God saved President Trump that day in Butler. Now we have to do the right thing from here on until the end of this administration. Freedom of speech, right? We can still do this. So that's what I believe. And maybe as years go on, I might, kind of, I don't know what the word is. I was going to say curtail what I'm saying, but that's at the heart of the matter. That's what it's all about. Just let's get the job done and win. And then hopefully we get to be in such a situation that we don't have a migrant invasion, that we don't have a problem with the Constitution, that we are a free nation. Hopefully it stays that way. We're protected in that, those laws, those Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the law of our land. And then we could kick back and talk about sports again. You know what I mean? Like, I know some of you do, but my point is just enjoy life like we used to. You remember what, the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, it was kind of like, hey. But little did we know that we had some deep staters in the White House. But anyway, I digress. 7:23, Tuesday, November 18th, awaiting the president and the first lady there. Again, this will be the dinner coming up. I was told by the director that the president and the first lady, when they participated in the receiving line in the Blue Room, that was closed press. So what is open press would be the next thing that's happening and the final thing of the night. The president and the first lady will participate in that dinner with the crown prince and the prime minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So that'll be in the East Room of the White House. And as you've heard from the president, he talks about the ballroom, which, would be right on an offshoot of that room there. It's the East Room, so it's the East Wing, and that's where that ballroom will be built. And I guess construction has already started. We saw I guess there was a crane out there during the day, so that's happening. I've been in that East Room before. I was an intern at Fox News and in DC in 2005. And that was right when I graduated from college. And then from there, worked at all these mainstream local news networks around the country. And as things progress and as things happen, I see a place like Right Side Broadcasting Network, through and true, I think that's the right way to say it, conservative media, right? On the right side of history, just really doing it with grassroots. And a brand that you guys have grown to love, and a brand that has always stood for, let's be honest about it, MAGA, rallies, freedom. And so as we shift into news coverage now, it's covering the news. And of course, you'll hear some opinion editorial like you always have on the network and like you would at any network. We're just glad you're with us today or tonight, maybe today on the West Coast, as it's about 4:30, going to be 4:30 out there. So looking forward to seeing the live feed there at the White House. But back to the point of what I was making. I tried to do the weave there, as the president always said, on those campaign trail stops. But I saw President George W. Bush and the United Kingdom Prime Minister Tony Blair in the East Room back in 2005 during the summer. You can look it up. You can look up that happened in the summer there. And yeah, I was in the press briefing room. I've seen what it's like, you know, and I returned to the White House pretty recently, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. We did some live reports, or at least some recordings with a number of people from the White House administration there. We were on the White House grounds there. We were at the Eisenhower Executive Building right next door doing a few interviews. So I get a feel of what it's like right there in Washington, D.C. And obviously the decisions are made from that office, and we're just grateful to be able to bring you this live coverage. And again, at a place that is in conservative media where you're able to speak freely. You don't have these corporate sponsors that are woke. Nothing wrong with a corporation if they have great products and they're selling the products and they're millionaires, billionaires. It's okay. You can make money off of a great product, great. But when it gets woke at the DEI stuff, as you guys know, we have none of that attachment here. This is a very free network, and that's really, really cool. So much so that there's no producer that types the script, and there's no teleprompter. I'm not looking at a teleprompter, it's just a lens. So anyway. All right, so it's 7:26, bottom of the hour, approaching that right now. Let's take one more commercial break. I'm going to check out some news headlines. We're awaiting the president and the first lady there for this dinner in the East Room. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Looking live there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It is about 7:30 on the East Coast, bottom of the hour. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for joining us. If you'd like to follow Right Side Broadcasting Network on X, it's at RSB Network. If you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. If you'd like to follow me on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. And then on X, it is Matthew US Media. Just got back on X. I was on X back in the day, like in local news. You know, they said, this is what's interesting about local news back in the day. When I say back in the day, I'm talking 2005 to 2018-ish back in the day. But it was all about more in 2007 once we had the iPhone. Get on Facebook, get on Twitter and post your stories and that kind of thing. And I was more of a journalist that I would just be like, okay, that's cool, but I'd rather, let's go live and go on camera and do the breaking news story or go and, whatever. That's just more of a TV traditional aspect of it. But as, you progress and get older, you're kind of like, hey, you got to have a balance of it, right? So anyway, all that to say, I'm on X again. Again, it's at Matthew US Media on X, and then on Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez. I love Truth Social. Been on there for 3 years. Celebrated that 3-year anniversary just in October. I know all of you guys that have been on for 3 years plus, you're like, hey, we already celebrated ours, but was a little late to the game on Truth, but was still kind of getting out of mainstream media at the time, and then jumped on Truth, and it's great to be there. And those of you that post things on there and take part in some of the polls that I put out there, thank you. All of you guys were on the same team, and I almost wish I don't want to get too personal on there and say, hey, Truth Social fam, I love you guys, or like MAGA, I love you. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird to me, but I can say that to you right here. Love you guys. We're on the right side of history. Let's keep kicking ass in this country. Let's win this thing. Let's vote. Let's get it done. And let's get what needs to be done taken care of. We've heard Christina Bobb the other day, Ivan Ranklin the other day were on the network. T.S. Dixon, the conservative author, he was saying things like, hey, in order to get the reforms for our country taken care of, we have to basically arrest the bad guys. It's not something that's wild or bad to say that. I mean, if you broke the law, and especially in the deep state, let's take care of some business there. In every movie, not every movie, but a number of movies, you have the hero, you have the winner, you have the guy that saves the day, right? And then at the end of the movie, usually you see maybe Chicago PD pull up and arrest the bad guy. Well, I don't think we're at that point of the movie yet. Hopefully we will be. And I only say that not to be us versus them and let's go, rah. No, it's more like, hey guys, I'd like to keep our freedoms. Hey, I want to keep the Constitution, the law of the land. It's basic stuff. Keep that common sense going, because we are in the midst of a situation that could turn ugly, in my opinion, if we have people like Mamdani running the show, or Gavin Newsom, or AOC. But if Newsom is president someday, I'm not saying I want that to happen, and I ever maybe interviewed the guy, I would interview the guy. But it wouldn't be a high five, smile, oh, thanks, Mr. President, none of that crap. It'll be a real interview. A respectful interview, but a very real interview. Someday, if it happens, I don't know. I hope Gavin's not the president anyway. I hope we have a Republican in office in 2029. But we're about 3 years away yet. So we have a lot of winning to do, including those midterms. All right, let's go to a couple sponsors as we are standing by for the President and the First Lady for this dinner in the East Room, scheduled at 7:15. It's now 7:33. All right, so mypillow.com/RSBN. Save with the RSBN promo code. You have a lot of different great products there. More than 2,000 products on mypillow.com/RSBN. Everything from the My Coffee to the My Pillow to the Giza Dream Sheets to the early Black Friday special there. 5-pack for $29.98. The Children's Bible Story Pillow. There's 5 of them there. It's pretty awesome. I wish I could actually see a little bit closer on which stories they are. Maybe I'll look at that next time. But great gifts there as well. So obviously Mike Lindell on the right side of history, doing great things for our country. And let's support the people at My Pillow. And go ahead and support us indirectly too at /RSBN. And if you'd like to donate to the network, all you do is text RSBN to 801-801. rsbnetwork.com/donate. You know, we do this because we know that we have our great sponsorships, but the donations that you guys have given Right Side over the years have really helped us advance to be able to cover the things that we're covering to this day. So please feel free if you do have an extra buck. If you don't, I get it, but if you do, obviously you don't have to pay a cable fee to watch us. You know, it doesn't cost money. You can watch us for free. But it's not free what we're doing in the sense of our services that we provide. And I'm just being straight up. It is true. It's just business stuff. I don't want to talk about business. I like talking about our country, but that's part of it is business, right? So if you like conservative media, if you support Right Side Broadcasting Network, go ahead and donate if you can. Text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. And for those of you that are longtime donors to this network that send us checks or money orders, that kind of thing, thank you for doing that. And if you would like to start doing that, you're out there, you say, I don't like doing that online thing, and you want to send a check, you can. We have a P.O. box for that. It's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344 in Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thanks so much for donating to Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue to grow and expand. And you know, these different live feeds that we get definitely cost a pretty penny, but it's great to bring it to you and great to have a number of you on tonight. And if you remember during the election season, election night, and then of course the inauguration, throughout all of the social platforms right here on Right Side, a combined 11+ million people from election night and then from inauguration. When you add the 6 million of inauguration and you add the 5 million of the election night, 11 million plus watched our coverage right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And you remember, all of this is after years and many hours of being out there with all of you guys that love the rallies. And some of you that are watching right now have been on our network. We've interviewed you from coast to coast, from north to south, and everywhere in between. I have to ask maybe our management here how many states we've been to, and are there any states that we haven't been to? I think we might have been to all of them. I don't know. I don't know if we've been to Hawaii, though. All right, anyway, getting close to the president now. We're seeing the beautiful East Room. Wow, it is decked out tonight. Holy smokes, that's looking good. All right, so the president and the first lady will participate in this dinner with the crown prince and prime minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia right there in that East Room. Director, do we have audio in that room right now? All right, let's listen in. Why not? Let's listen in. And if it starts, it'll just take it from there, and then I'll see you on the other side of it. If it's a bit of delay, we'll come back here in the studio. But let's go to the East Room.
President of the United States and First Lady Melania Trump, accompanied by the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. What an honor. Well, this is a very special occasion, and it is indeed my honor to welcome to the White House a great friend and a man of leadership, vision, courage, and strength, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we had a big day today, a very big day for both countries. We've gotten to know each other well over the years, and he has become a true partner for peace and prosperity for our countries and for the world and for peace in the Middle East, which was a crowning achievement for both of us. And I just want to say that Crown Prince Mohammed, we're delighted to have you with us at the White House. Very special, very, very special. I'd like to also express my gratitude to our wonderful First Lady for organizing this beautiful evening. She worked hard on it. Thank you very much, Melania. Thank you. And we're pleased to be joined as well by Vice President J.D. Vance and his magnificent wife, Usha. Thank you. Thank you, J.D. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and his wife, Kelly. Thank you, Mike, wherever you may be. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Princess Rima. Thank you, Princess Rima. Such an incredible representative of your country. And you really are. We really appreciate it. Great job you do. And members of the Saudi delegation, we want to thank you very much for being with us. We spent a lot of time with you today in the cabinet. You're extremely good negotiators, that I can tell you. So I want to thank you. And we have so many other unbelievable dignitaries. I won't talk too much about you because we'll be here all night. This room is loaded up with the biggest leaders in the world, business, sports. You know, my son is a big fan of Ronaldo, wherever Ronaldo is here. Ronaldo. And Barron got to meet him, and I think he respects his father a little bit more now, just the fact that I introduced you. So I just want to thank you both for being here. Thank you very much. Really an honor. But I want to thank everybody because you have the biggest business leaders in the world. You have the biggest leaders politically anywhere in the world. And I think it's a group that maybe to this extent has never come together quite like this. I only wish we had about 2,000 more seats. We would have filled every one of them 2 times over. But very soon you'll be having that. And we'll have to do another one in about 2 years from now. But we really do. We appreciate it very much. It's a special privilege to welcome His Royal Highness to Washington this year as we mark the 80th anniversary of the first meeting between U.S. President and a Saudi king. 8 decades ago in 1945, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt met with the Crown Prince's own grandfather, the founder of the Saudi Arabian incredible country, and that was King Abdul Aziz on the deck of the U.S. Navy cruiser, and a beautiful one at that. It has become known for that meeting all over the world. The two became immediate and warm friends, and in fact, when we were walking down the Presidential Walk of Fame today, I said, so which one, other than Trump, of course, because Trump absolutely is number one in this category, meaning friend to Saudi Arabia. I said, which is the greatest of the president's friends of Saudi Arabia? And I think you said, very truly, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Now, he's a Democrat, so I don't know. But I understood it, and it's true. He was a great friend, and right now you have the best friend you've ever had. But ever since, our countries have been enduring partners, and together this evening, we're making that partnership closer and stronger than ever before. And we've never had the relationship, our countries, like this. We had four great years, but things happened today, and documents were signed, and we went through a lot during the first 9 months. And we have a very different Middle East than we had when I first came into office, like I would say day and night. As I saw during my wonderful visit to the kingdom in May, with the Crown Prince's help, Saudi Arabia has made extraordinary strides and grown into an economic engine and really a modern day miracle, an amazing transformation, and all for the good. This opening up of the new avenues of cooperation between the United States and Saudi Arabia is really unprecedented. And on that trip, Saudi Arabia announced that it will invest an incredible $600 billion. That means jobs. That means jobs. It's also good for your companies, but I'm only interested in the jobs for your country. I'm not interested in the profits, but I guess the profits are there too. But $600 billion in the United States. And today I said, any way you can up that? And he said, I am going to up that to $1 trillion. So he's investing $1 trillion into the United States. And when I was in Saudi Arabia, he looked at me, and I've used his name all over the place because he was the first to say it, but a lot of people have said it after. He said, you know, 1 year ago, we thought your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We are the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. So I want to thank you for giving me one of the most effective lines that I have. And I quote you, and I quote some others, but I always put you up at top. But many people have said that. This week, we're also signing exciting agreements on civil nuclear energy, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence, numbers that nobody's ever heard of before. And Jensen, I want to thank you. You had a great meeting of NVIDIA, wherever you may be. And I want to thank Tim Cook and Apple for all of the money that you're investing in the United States. They're both investing $600 billion, and we have numerous other companies in the room that are likewise investing large sums because they believe in what we are doing and what's taken place, this miracle that's taken place in the USA. Together, these will come together. We're going to have support the many thousands of American jobs that have been created and help solidify the USA and the world leader. We're really now by far the world leader in technology, and nobody even questions it. Advanced manufacturing and other vital industries. They were saying 2-3 years ago, when the country was really losing business, not gaining business, that we'll never be manufacturers again, we'll never be doing any of these businesses again, that are coming back to us in record numbers. AI plants, but maybe even most importantly, in a sense, the auto plants. They're all pouring back into the United States. And I have to say, because of tariffs, I'll also say because of November 5th, the election. But because of the tariffs, they're coming back. We have the head of Ford, we have the head of General Motors in the room, and their stock has gone through the roof because what I did with tariffs last week on certain kinds of vehicles. I won't get into it. It's called mid-sized trucks and large trucks. So I wanted to get into it because their stock went through the roof, and they were very happy. They did not really a hell of a lot of work. I gave it to them at their request, and for that, they get a big fat salary. But more importantly, they create jobs all over the country. It's been amazing. And the business you've gotten in the mid-size and the large trucks because of what we did with tariffs is incredible. It's incredible. So I congratulate both companies, and thank you both for being here very much. And as we announced in May, Saudi Arabia is also making an enormous commitment to building up its own defense capabilities with the largest arms purchase in history, nearly $142 billion worth of American military equipment and services. And as I've said many times, and we've demonstrated just a short while ago, but quite a bit. We make the best military equipment in the world by far. We make the best jets, the best missiles. We make the best military equipment in the world. There's nothing even close. But this will mark and make both of our nations safer and cement the kingdom's role as a key force for stability and security in the Middle East. And they are, I think right now I can say, with what we did with our beautiful B-2 bombers going in and obliterating a very serious nuclear threat, which would have taken place in about a month from that date. They were ready to go. They're not ready to go anymore. They'd like very much to make a deal with us, and they call us, and we'll end up probably doing that. That's Iran. But when you really think about it, Your Majesty, I think that this is the best in terms of safety. Saudi Arabia has never been as safe as it is right now. You always had a little cloud over your head, and sometimes that cloud was very big. That cloud is not there anymore, and we want to keep it that way. So that's why tonight I'm pleased to announce that we're taking our military cooperation to even greater heights by formally designating Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally, which is something that is very important to them. And I'm just telling you now for the first time because I wanted to keep a little secret for tonight. I just heard him say, "Oh, that's nice." That's another point you won today. And signing a historic strategic defense agreement, which we just signed a little while ago. So congratulations. It's our great honor. A stronger and more capable alliance will advance the interests of both countries, and it will serve the highest interest of peace, and we all share in peace, and we've never had and been so close to truly everlasting peace in the Middle East. All my life I've heard, oh, peace in the Middle East, but it'll never happen. We did it. Now we have to make sure it matures properly and is really as strong as we think it can be, but we've gotten all good signals. I want to just thank you for all the help, too. I want to thank the Crown Prince for the role he played in the transformational peace deal that was achieved last month, and so many of the other things that happened to end the war in Gaza. Gaza, while it looks a little bit messy, it has for many, many years, I will tell you, many decades, but it's getting very close to being perfected, and people are shocked. And even the great experts that have gone around criticizing badly every country and every president and everything, they were all saying that what's taking place in the Middle East is a miracle. They're just calling it a miracle, and we're going to make it a miracle, and we're very close to doing that. But as you know, all of the living hostages were returned to their families. We got all 20 out of 20. And likewise, this sounds terrible, but the parents of the dead people, young men, mostly young men, almost all young men, they wanted those bodies back as much as the parents of the living. The parents of the living would do anything to get their boy back, and they got him back. And the parents of the dead wanted them just as much. It almost seemed as though they wanted them more. And today, through the efforts of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Marco Rubio and everybody worked together. We worked so hard together. 2 more bodies were brought back, and we're up to almost the full count. I think we're too short right now, and a lot of work has been done by Hamas. And a lot of people said they wouldn't be doing that, but they did do it. And the bodies have been delivered to the families, to the mothers, to the fathers, and at least they can be in peace. It's amazing. It was a miserable period of time. We have 2 more to go, and I think we'll be getting them also. Not easy. That was not easy. Not an easy situation. I've met with many of those parents, and what a time they've had. But we also want to thank all of the people living in Gaza, the residents of Gaza, and they've, as you know, begun to move back to their homes, and a lot more safety. They said today a lot more safety than they've ever had before. It was a rough neighborhood, to put it mildly, and a lot of progress has been made with respect to Gaza and just about everything else we touch. Just yesterday, the United Nations Security Council formally adopted my peace plan and officially endorsed the Board of Peace. This is a board like no other. It will have the heads of major countries, I think all of the major countries, I hope Your Highness will be on the board. You'll accept, I hope. But the Board of Peace will be something that's never even been thought of before. And it's covering Gaza, but it'll end up covering large portions of the world. And I was honored to be chosen the chair of that Board of Peace. And I think you'll see something that nobody's ever seen before in terms of the status of the board. There will never be a board like the board that we're going to be announcing. Everybody wants to be on the board, and it'll end up being quite a large board because it'll be the heads of every major country, and the United Nations passed it. I guess unanimously, you can say. China, which was against it, took a pass, didn't vote against it, and Russia, which was against it, didn't vote against it. So we appreciate it because one negative vote and it doesn't happen. So people were shocked to see that it was approved, and that was a great honor. It's a great honor for me, I will tell you. I think it's something like nobody's ever even imagined. So it's called the Board of Peace, and watch for it because it's going to do some fantastic things. And I know we're both deeply committed to an enduring ceasefire. It grows into the beautiful, lasting peace, and we've got things going at numbers and far ahead of schedule that nobody thought was possible. So, Your Royal Highness, just as my predecessors and so many of the people that you know and love from a long time ago, they bonded with the U.S. and Saudi relationship, which was forged 80 years ago. You and I are strengthening and renewing the alliance, I believe, to levels that were far greater than what they had even 80 years ago, frankly. And we pray that we will be celebrated by our own descendants some days for this incredible relationship that's been built between the United States of America and Saudi Arabia. Someday they maybe will talk about us as being two wonderful men. Forget about great. Wonderful is okay. But two wonderful men that did tremendous work for their countries, and that bond is very important. Our friendship and blessings to America, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and to the world stand out and will always stand out to me. So I look forward to working with you, and we'll be here for 3.25 years. For the Trump, that's like an eternity. You know, for somebody else, that doesn't sound long. But we love doing it. We love, we have an expression, make America great again. And that's what we're doing beyond what anyone even thought possible. So I just want to thank you for being a very big part of it. And I want to thank you for a $1 trillion investment and contribution toward our country. That's a lot of jobs. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please.
Well, it's too hard to speak after Mr. President. No one speaks better than him. But first of all, I will start with thanking Mr. President for the warm and great welcome that we have today. We feel home. And this relation started around close to 9 decades ago with Roosevelt and King Abdulaziz, who established the modern Saudi Arabia. Also, I've known that America is almost celebrating 250 years of establishment. And also in 2 years, we will celebrate in Saudi Arabia 300 years of establishing Saudi Arabia. We've been since the last 9 decades working together in many areas. During the World War II, we was a major supplier for oil. During the Cold War, countering extremism, terrorism. But during that time, we've been also working on a lot of economical opportunities. But today, it's a special day. We think the horizon of the economical cooperation between Saudi Arabia and the rest of America, it's bigger and wider in many areas. We've been signing a lot of agreements that are going to open the door to develop the relation deeper in many areas, and we're going to work on it. We believe the opportunities is huge, so we're going to focus on implementation and keep increasing the opportunities between our both countries. So thank you again, Mr. President. Thank you very much. And also, before I come here, someone told me that there is in some of the bidding sites that they are bidding on me wearing black suits, and if you bid on me wearing black suits, I'm coming here with the black suits, they're going to get almost 17x. So I want to tell them, sorry, you lose the bid. Maybe next time. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Very much.
right, so you see there some of the White House staff clearing out the press, the president, delivering remarks in the East Room of the White House, this prior to having dinner with the Saudi Crown Prince, who spoke shortly there. In attendance, a number of dignitaries, as you guys may have seen, including the Vice President. We saw Elon Musk there. International superstar, the soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo is there as well, as he's part of the Saudi Pro League. But we want to thank you guys so much for watching here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We know there's a lot of news going on in this 24/7 news cycle, and it's all for God, family, country, and freedom. And for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thank you so much for watching. If you missed any of our coverage, we started about 6 o'clock Eastern with a number of live interviews. You can always watch that on replay if you missed it. But again, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.